I buy numbers this morning. So how the number place can be closed?
Coming up, the Chief Justice quashes a lower court ruling against number houses. We've got the fallout and the latest on the web shop saga.
Also ahead, the Marco Archer case was back in court today. We'll give you details of the proceedings.
And bowling's back. We've got the highlights coming up from the national championships. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Everyone, and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Kendino Knowles. As always, it's good to have you with us.
Topping the news tonight, web shop operators no longer have the protection of a Supreme Court injunction and may now be subject to prosecution after Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett ruled today that police must be allowed to uphold the law.
Now, the ruling came this morning, 2 months after a referendum which did not support web gaming and a legal challenge mounted by web shop operators. And as Foreign Carey tells us in this report, today's ruling has by no means ended the face-off.
Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett discharged a conservatory order today. That order by the Chief Justice prevented authorities from taking any action against web shop owners and operators pending the hearing and determination of an application for an injunction or a further order. The Chief Justice also dismissed an application by the web bosses for an injunction against the police. The web bosses were seeking the injunction on the premise that they would become bankrupt if an interim order is not granted, as the police would be able to shut down their entire operations while the matter is being litigated. However, the Chief Justice indicated, among other things, in a written ruling that there is no basis for this fear, as the police can only prosecute for breaches of the Lotteries and Gaming Act. The Chief Justice also noted that the public would have suffered irreparable harm by the web shop's operators being allowed to continue and profit from illegal activity. Regarding the web shop operators' legal challenge to certain provisions in the Lotteries and Gaming Act, the Chief Justice noted that it would not be a proper exercise of his judicial discretion to restrain the police from enforcing the law despite the legal challenge. Meantime, Attorney Wayne Munro, who's representing 6 web shop owners, and Attorney Alfred Sayers, who's representing Paradise Games Limited, have indicated that they will appeal. As a result, Attorney Lauren Klein, who is appearing on behalf of the Crown, indicated that it is unlikely that police will take any action against web shop operators immediately, pending the outcome of that appeal. Foreign Carey, ZNS Network News.
Well, things seem to be business as usual, despite the injunction being lifted earlier today by Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett, making way for police to prosecute web shop operations, or web shop operators, that is. Well, there's been no definitive time, though, as to when police will take action. A number of messages were left for Commissioner of Police Alison Greenslade, who had no response or comment up to airtime.
Now, for many, their views are mixed on this latest episode for the future of web shop operations. Jimenita Swain canvassed the views of residents following the court's decision. Here's what she found.
There were no signs posted at any web shop operations our news team visited indicating that the businesses were closed. In fact, patrons were seen entering and exiting a number of establishments. For some residents we spoke with Tuesday, the injunction being lifted changes nothing for those who choose to participate in web shop gaming. Some openly admitted to buying numbers with no fear of being prosecuted.
The number house ain't closed. That's only something that the Chief Justice says now closed. People are still, I buy numbers this morning. So how the number place can be closed?
I think it's going to be business as usual until all the appeals cleared up. My belief, until they cleared up, I don't think the commissioner is going to give the order or the attorney general. They're going to give the order to go and shut them down right immediately.
For another resident who calls himself Prophet Kalis Gator, he says number houses should have been closed down completely since the referendum.
A whole lot of people think that they have been living constantly on the number of houses. But I personally think that they should have been closed down a long time ago because it was against the law and illegal to be buying these numbers. But so to speak, I believe that they have made the right decision in closing them down, because I personally don't believe in gambling.
But for Richard Johnson, it's now time to hear from the Commissioner of Police or the nation's chief on the next step for the proposed plans to address web shop operations.
But I think by now we should hear from the Commissioner of Police, who's in charge of the Royal Balance Police Force. He's been very quiet on the matter. This is a time for him for the public to hear what he has to say. And if the junction has been lifted, then the police should do his job, act on what now needs to be done. Or the Prime Minister needs to give a response to the public and to tell us now how we can go forward now.
It's unclear if or when police will move to shut down illegal web shop operations in the country. For now, we'll just have to wait to hear from Commissioner of Police Ellison Greenslade. Chiminita Swain, ZNS Network News.
Now, the Prime Minister has given his initial reaction to the court's ruling, which essentially barred police from prosecuting numbers bosses. Up to the time of our newscast, the Prime Minister said that he was not aware of the contents of the ruling, nor had he been briefed by the Attorney General. However, Mr. Christie says the law is the law, and pending an appeal, the judgment will be enforced.
The judgment now places the people who are affected by the judgment in a position where they themselves have to come to an understanding of the meaning of the judgment and act in accordance with the judgment, unless they appeal that decision. With respect to the police who enforces judgments, enforces the law, I beg your pardon, the police must have an understanding of what the judgment means. If they need the advice of the Attorney General, they will get that advice, and then they will act accordingly.
Now, you may recall that following the results of the January 28th gaming referendum, the government ordered that web shop operators shut down immediately or faced arrest and closure. And Prime Minister Christie says that position stands.
My position is on the record, has been referred to in the case itself. The position I adopted has been referred to, and once the court rules clearly on the law, there's no confusion as to what is to be expected. And if the web shops have been ruled to be an illegal and illicit activity, then they have to act accordingly. So there's nothing for me to do now or say. The position reverts back to the original position that we adopted.
Now, opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis calls on the Prime Minister to uphold the rule of law following that court decision today. He says it's a welcome move and the Bahamian people voted no in significant numbers. In light of this, the opposition leader calls on the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security and Commissioner of Police to move with, quote, deliberate haste, end quote, in upholding the rule of law and shut down the numbers houses.
Well, pre-trial arguments expected to continue on Thursday in the Kofi Goodman murder trial. Goodman is accused of killing 11-year-old Marco Archer between September 23rd and September 28th of 2011. During today's proceedings, Goodman's attorney, Jeffrey Farquharson, made an application for the court to stay the proceedings indefinitely on the grounds that Goodman is unable to receive a fair trial due to the tremendous publicity surrounding the case. However, prosecutor Neil Brathwaite suggested that Farquharson's application be dismissed on the grounds that some of the information contained in his affidavit is irrelevant, inadmissible, and scandalous. Meantime, Farquharson is expected to complete his submissions on Thursday, after which Justice Bernard Turner will give his ruling. Well, days after Prime Minister Perry Christie said he was dissatisfied with the relationship between his government and the I Group, he confirmed that he'd received a communication from the developers. In the communication, I Group President Stephen Roy expressed deep concern about the accident and assured that the company was not dragging its feet in carrying out works to Mayaguana's airport. But Prime Minister Christie says regardless, his government has to act in the best interest of the Bahamian people.
The fact of the matter is the government of the Bahamas, faced with what the government of the Bahamas is faced with down there, must act. And we are going to, through the Minister of Transport, take all of the necessary steps to ensure that the best interests of the Bahamian people, period, those who live in Maguana, those who travel to Maguana, the best interests protected, which means we have to address the condition of the airport, address the condition of lighting at the airport, and regardless to who is at fault, whether they're in breach of the agreement or not, it doesn't matter. That as a country, we cannot have our people subjected to a set of circumstances that could bring the kind of result that we had.
In our first look at weather, mid-level trough is heading our way. What does that mean for our weather? Well, stay tuned. But outside of our studios just now, we have partly cloudy skies, temperatures 75 degrees, your relative humidity 70%, winds out of the east at 10 knots, barometric pressure 1,019.0 millibars, that's 30.09 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the family violence, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight, complying with FACTA. We've got more from a special one-day regional conference coming up.
And later on in sports, the Bahamas Bowling Federation Nationals get underway. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight in HD.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.